This is Michael Popok, and by the looks of things, it's after dark legal AF time. And now it's time to go back to Mar-a-Lago and Judge Aileen Cannon. What is she doing? She's gone off the rails again, and it seems to be bending over backwards to benefit the defense. Instead of just benefiting justice and making sure that justice is done in her particular courtroom. This is a judge who historically has always sided with the prosecution against the defense, but not when Donald Trump is involved. There's all sorts of things she's doing to set up potholes for an increasingly frustrated Department of Justice. And we break it all down with some latest developments right in her courtroom on Legal AF. Take a listen.
We've talked about it at the outset of the show, so let's just touch on it briefly here. Judge Aileen Cannon, in another bizarre paperless order, inviting two pro-Trump groups and then one group that's just upholding what the law is on this issue about the appointment of special counsel Jack Smith. I've called it like a tinfoil hat kind of argument that Donald Trump's making here, because this has been decided over and over again in many other courts. It's a legal issue. It doesn't require a hearing. And in fact, it's a legal issue that a judge sua sponte on their own initiative should just rule on and just say, no, I'm rejecting it out of hand right away. Trump argues that special counsel Jack Smith's appointment was unlawful, claiming that Jack Smith, because he's not a technical officer, cannot have been selected through the Department of Justice process and selected by Merrick Garland, that it required Senate confirmation. And as a result, the entire criminal case is against Donald Trump is unlawful and needs to be dismissed. And also, because special counsel Jack Smith was not Senate confirmed, the appropriations, the funds that go to the DOJ that then go to pay for special counsel Jack Smith are improper and unlawful. And as a result, the entire case against Donald Trump should be dismissed. That's Trump's argument. Judge Aileen Cannon, rather than just dismissing it, is holding a day and a half of oral argument at the end of June on that issue. And then she's saying that she's going to be holding half a day to address Jack Smith's request that the conditions of Trump's release be expanded to prevent him from lying that he's currently the victim of attempted assassination attempts by the Department of Justice and the FBI, and that he was the victim of an assassination attempt during the Mar-a-Lago search, simply because one of the documents turned over in discovery in the Mar-a-Lago criminal case was the standard use of force policy that exists in every single search warrant that gets executed across the country. But Trump says, look, lethal force. It uses the words lethal force, and as a result, they tried to kill me. They're coming after me. They're trying to kill me. It's the most ridiculous argument in the world. It's not even an argument. It's just yet another one of the it's rigged, whining. They're trying to kill me. Join my war. It's just his kind of loser whining attack on our justice system types of stuff. But look, Judge Aileen Cannon's entertaining it. She's already done enough stuff to kick the trial out indefinitely, so there's not going to be the trial before her. There's really nothing Jack Smith can do right now because there's no final order. I mean, yes, you could potentially seek a writ with the 11th Circuit, but it's the path to doing that would likely result in Jack Smith not prevailing because there's not a final order. And if Jack Smith loses before the 11th Circuit, that loss will forever prevent him from removing Judge Aileen Cannon. Because once you lose there, you're not going to be credible if you attempt to do it again. So, he's waiting patiently for a final order. And look, I know there are people who are saying, look, Judge Aileen Cannon she's outmaneuvered and outplayed Jack Smith. That's like saying an umpire who calls a ball when it's a strike has outmaneuvered the batter. I mean, the judge, the umpire, you're supposed to call balls and strikes. And so it's not like the batter's being outmaneuvered per se. She's not following the law. But once again, we see another example where the norms and the good faith and our system is based on the idea that federal judges are accomplished, smart, intelligent, people. And yes, they may have a little political bent, but they have life-term appointments. They're supposed to put that aside. And when they wear that robe, they're supposed to understand the august nature of their responsibilities. And not with Judge Eileen Cannon. That would be a massive, massive understatement. And federal judges have discretion over their scheduling. You can't reverse them moving things around like that. And the lesson that she learned when she was reversed by the 11th Circuit the first time is, if I never make a ruling, I'll never get reversed.
Mhm.
So let me just turn my courtroom into a circus. I'll get the support from the MAGA lawyers. In fact, let me invite the MAGA lawyers in for a party in my courtroom. We could all have an argument together. They'll get my back. And that's where she's going with this. Popok, what do you make of it? I mean, I know we talked a lot about this. What do you make of it?
Yeah, no, I'll just throw my 2 cents in there quickly. First of all, there's been recent reporting of about a dozen or so fellow members of the Southern District of Florida, which I am also a member in the courts there, who've come forward and have said anonymously that Judge Cannon usually bends over backwards against defendants in her courtroom. She is notorious, as far as they're concerned, for we kind of call it the hobgoblins of little minds. She gets very over her skis about minute issues. She loses the forest from the trees. This is in her other cases. She has very little experience when it comes to trials. She was an appellate lawyer for the Department of Justice, if you can believe it. Never was a frontline prosecutor trying cases. Tried very few cases before she got this case because of COVID. Almost none in her courtroom, and certainly none about the Espionage Act and obstruction of justice about a former president. And so her normal instincts to side with the prosecutors has gone out the window. And the only thing you can use to explain that is she's not only a member of the Federalist Society, she's gone to these Federalist Society boot camps at universities like the Antonin Scalia Law School that's run effectively by Leonard Leo, who founded the Federalist Society and hosts people like Eileen Cannon. She's gone there during the course of this prosecution, and so I'm sorry, you can only conclude that since she's not doing her normal thing, which is being harsh on defendants, is because, as you said earlier, this seems to be an elaborate tryout for higher office for Eileen Cannon. There's no other way to explain it. And you were kind to her. You said she was reversed once. She was reversed twice before the indictment even came out about her handling of the case. And you're right. She learned all the wrong lessons about how to avoid reversible orders. And the things that she finds interesting are not really interesting at all, because they've already been decided over and over again, both expressly by other appellate courts, other trial courts in the federal system, and even implicitly by the United States Supreme Court, that the special counsel, which replaced, just to do a little historical thing for a minute, prior to the special counsel, there was a thing called the independent counsel. It was a statute. It was created by Congress. It was bipartisan, and it was used. Ken Starr was the independent counsel prosecuting, investigating Bill Clinton in Whitewater and Monica Lewinsky. And Larry Walsh was the independent counsel investigating Reagan for Iran-Contra. That was the Oliver North thing there. And after both of those investigations, the Republicans and the Democrats at the time said, we hate the independent counsel office, and they scrapped the law. They let it lapse. They didn't renew it. It got replaced by what we call the special counsel. Even though he is also independent, it's different than that independent counsel thing that I just described. And it is also a creature of being created by Congress and funded by Congress, and it has rules and regulations about what the Attorney General can and can't do, and how he has to report to Congress ultimately about the ultimate reports and all of that. It's all regulated by Congress. The funding for it is regulated about how it comes out of it and all of that. Eileen Cannon hears there was a Supreme Court case about funding, about a bureau of the government, which was the Consumer Protection Bureau, and the even the MAGA was okay with how the Consumer Protection Bureau was funded by Congress. But she immediately wrote a paperless order and said, I would like everybody prepared to comment about this new precedent about funding and a bureau and how it may relate to the special counsel. Like, what are you even talking about? At this point, she's already done the thing that she wanted to do. She's taken this trial off the docket for the American people. They are not going to have the benefit of a exoneration or a conviction of Trump on these issues about, as you said, Espionage Act, stealing America's national defense information and top secret documents, classified documents by a former president. We are not going to have the benefit of that information, that data set, before the November 5th election. She's already done that. The rest of this is just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic at this point. Well, let's use the 23rd for a hearing with a gag order about putting FBI at risk. It's an important issue, but this case has already hit the iceberg and is sinking fast. And unfortunately, Jack Smith, despite all of his brain power and all of his acumen, seems to be has been flummoxed. And there's a little, there's been a little bit of an acting out by a frustrated Department of Justice, even in her courtroom, where they're rightly so, banging on the table and arguing, and to the point where the judge was like, calm down, just calm down. Well, it's not about that. As my mother would say, when two kids are fighting over the bicycle, it's not about the bike. And the acting out by the prosecutors in the courtroom is not about whatever's going on at that particular moment. It's that they are flummoxed and frustrated by watching her make a mockery of our justice system. And, I don't know what's going on in the minds of the chief judge for the 11th Circuit. I don't know what's going on in the minds of the chief judge of the Southern District of Florida, but they can't be happy with what this is doing. And for the reputation of what was once proud federal district court, of which I proudly called myself a member on the attorney side, of what this is doing in the annals of history about this, how this case was handled by this young, inexperienced Federalist Society Trumper. That's all I can say.
Look, I know how important it was for you when early on I was calling out Judge Eileen Cannon, and you would push back on me, not against Judge Cannon, but you would say, hey, look, Ben, what we really have to be very careful about, though, is this Southern District of Florida has such a proud tradition. And you say, I'm a member of that bar. I mean, we have to believe that she's going to rise to the occasion and recognize the august judges on a bipartisan basis who she sits with and looks around, and the reputation of that courtroom must mean something to her. Like let's just see, and it wasn't coming from naivety. I think it was coming from your love of law and order, and to watch you have to go through the journey of coming to this conclusion that, this is a rogue and corrupt judge, where you vocalize it now in the way you do, notwithstanding the fact that you practice there and how hard it is for you to have to do that for practicing in front of that court for so long. It's kind of like a sad, I don't feel sad for you. It's
right,
like a sad, it's like a sad thing to see.
It is.
That institution be so tarnished, and then our country be so tarnished by these MAGA judges. Look, justice delayed, justice denied.
Welcome back. So that was Ben Meiselas and me. We do the Saturday edition of Legal AF as the founders of the show. We curate the top 5 stories at the intersection of law and politics. We bring it to you right here on this network. Free subscribe and help the MeidasTouch YouTube channel get to 3 million free subscribers before the November election. We're building this network with our bare hands with your help, and we really appreciate it. If you don't know anything about Legal AF, that was a clip, and we invite you to join us for our next Wednesday and Saturday podcast. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.